There's a lot of data in these relationships now, and the data is also increasingly governed by very complex regulatory requirements. And so in the past, companies could afford to be a little sloppy about their customer data and their supplier data and their vendor data and their employee data, but that's not the case anymore. If you do that, particularly in Europe, you're going to have big problems. So in order to keep better control over all those master data files, if you will, they've been put under CFO and with a lot of assistance from legal. And so that has, I think, broadened the charter quite a bit, because now we have to make sure that we're negotiating with each of those business functions about the data rights. One of the biggest disruptors is, of course, cloud technology in general. It's important to our customers, which means it's important to our product development. But speaking for the CFO function, it's really important to our operation as well. So historically, we ran most of our own systems and services in our data center, and now we've shifted that into the cloud. And so the changes to us have been pretty dramatic as well. We've had to learn how to negotiate with Amazon and Microsoft and then now Google as well, to put elements of our business, how we manage our customer relationships, how we do our quoting, how we do our fulfillment. More and more of that's being done in the cloud. So the same challenges that our customer has as they take our products that used to be primarily on-premise and deploy them in their clouds to solve their business problems, we're doing at TIBCO as well. I think a little bit simply because we've tried to become more of an omni-channel company ourselves. So we traditionally used to reach our customers with more analog mechanisms, and now there are more digital mechanisms. There's a lot of touch points, and those touch points rely on our customer master data as an example. One big learning for me when I arrived at TIBCO, one of the surprises to me was that we had made a number of acquisitions and we had kept the data separate from those acquisitions, which made it very difficult to quote a customer new business if they wanted to have things that spanned multiple acquisitions, right? So the first thing that we did is we created a kind of a universal customer master. We joined together what I think at the time was about 7 different instances of Salesforce into one. Of course, when you do that, you end up with a lot of duplicates, and you can kind of imagine the challenges. And so we had to spend quite a bit of time cleaning up the data. But once we had done that, it then becomes easier to add new accesses to new channels, whether it's a partner channel or an e-commerce channel, which we now have for a lot of our renewals. Small dollar renewals we run through our e-commerce channel. People, of course, can go through email with a purchasing order if they want, and that's another channel. So we have gotten pretty good at adding different distribution channels onto our customer repository. We kind of run a distributed operation to support what happens to be a pretty big market geographically and culturally different as well. And so having folks in place in those countries to handle the uniqueness of those countries has been a big part of our growth strategy. So we have to distribute the responsibility to some degree, because it's not possible for it to all be managed by one function. So let me give you an example. One area of great concern, of course, is data privacy. So we leverage our legal function to make sure that our contracts include all the necessary provisions, particularly in Europe, but I think increasingly in other parts of the world, to handle data rights, right? So that's sort of handled by legal. We have a CSO, our Chief Security Officer, who handles a lot of the security for the networks, the cloud, who has access, ensuring that when folks leave either our customer organization or our own organization, depending on which software you're looking at, that ex-employees are removed from the software. We have groups who do perimeter testing and penetration testing to try to make sure that the people can't break in and steal our data. I mean, can you ever eliminate all the risks? No, you just try to reduce them as many as you can, and you try to take care of all of the obvious risks.